Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. The feudal fairy tale of the future continues in another awesome episode of Yashahime. This was a great episode, finally giving us what we the viewers have been wanting to see, the brand new characters of the series. They were only slightly teased in the very first episode of Yashahime, which felt more like a classic episode of Inuyasha, reintroducing all of the old characters while just sort of teasing us about these brand new ones, and we really got to see them in action in this episode, and we even got to learn a little bit more about their backstories, but they're still managing to keep things pretty mysterious. So there's a lot to talk about in this episode, so let's go ahead and jump right in. The episode actually immediately opens up giving us the backstory of Towa and Setsuna, twin sisters who, thanks to the press material, we do know, spoiler warning, by the way, they are the daughters of Sesshomaru. Now, he is nowhere to be seen throughout this entire episode, and the implication is that these girls just sort of live by themselves in the forest. But being that they are half demon, they're very capable of surviving, and for the most part, life seems pretty hunky-dory for both of these characters, who are so sickeningly adorable, it will give you diabetes. But we do get to see the pivotal moment when these two sisters are separated from one another. There was this big forest fire that was going down, and they were trying to escape and maybe even save some of their friends in the process. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a massive tree falls in between both of them, and due to some sort of weird, crazy emotional state, suddenly, in the eye of Towa, in her left eye, it starts to glow, and then suddenly a weird vortex opens up and ends up sucking her in and sending her to the future, the current time where Kagome used to live with her family. And this is where she is immediately separated from Setsuna and doesn't see her for another 10 years. Now, what's interesting is that when she actually does go to the future, she actually ends up meeting Kagome's younger brother, Sota, who is now an adult and has a family of his own, and he tries to help her out and eventually ends up adopting her, essentially making her a Higurashi at this point. And it's interesting to say the least. It's a little bit of a twist on the classic series, where someone from the future goes to the past, now someone from the past goes to the future. And it's very clear that they're trying to build up Towa as sort of like the main character of the series, but she seems to have a very happy life in this future, living with Sota and her brand new little sister, who goes by the name of Mei, the true daughter of Sota. And basically, her wild side could not be contained even in the future. She's a little bit of a firecracker. She loves to get in fights with rival gangs. She goes to an all-girls school but still manages to get in fights all the time, and she always manages to dress like a boy, which is something that's kind of interesting about her character and also makes the story feel a little more contemporary and modern, as she seems to challenge gender norms a little bit. That being said, this type of storytelling is very relevant for our world today, so it immediately makes it relatable, I think, to another large amount of people who are going to be watching this show. But most of this is just establishing that Towa is now living in this future, and she's running into all these gangs and getting in fights. In fact, she runs into one which I swear is every freaking gang in every anime ever. Like, do these guys all shop at the same place? They all have the same dialogue. It's ridiculous. And Towa just ends up destroying them with her amazing martial arts skill. She also happens to be something of a competent person when it comes to using a sword, so that's really awesome. She even has a prize sword herself, which initially I thought maybe this is going to be her special sword, but again, you get to learn by the end of the episode that's not exactly the case. But right after this, we immediately cut back to the past, where we get to see where the other characters are being established. And first, let's talk about the daughter of Inuyasha and Kagome, who again, like Sesshomaru, are nowhere to be seen in this episode, which is very strange. They are playing with our emotions with this type of stuff. But basically, their daughter Moroha, who also goes by the name of Inuyasha, is a bounty hunter, and she's being hunted down by the Demon Slayers, who are actually being led by Kohaku now. He now has brought in more people into the group, and his current proteges are two characters that we've just been introduced to. One of them is Hisui, who is the son of Moroku. He looks so much like him, it's crazy, and even manages to use the Hirai Kotsu and rides around on Kirara. But then we have Setsuna, who again is now older, more competent, has a massive Naginato weapon, and they're all trying to take down Inuyasha. Now, this is when stuff just starts to get insane and crazy, as it's pretty clear that these groups don't really like each other, and you would think they would totally be working together, considering, their families were all, really close and everything. But again, they're trying to keep things kind of mysterious here, and they want to sort of mess with our expectations of what we're going to potentially see from the show. But basically, as this battle starts to take place, suddenly another demon arrives, which is a massive centipede woman, which is going to look very similar to what you saw in the original series. This is a woman who goes by the name of Mistress Three Eyes, and she's after the brand new MacGuffin of the series, which goes by the name of the Rainbow Pearls. Now, this is something that's kind of interesting too, because in the intro they show them multiple times these multicolored orbs, which are very similar to the Shikon jewels. Essentially, they're going to be like the jewels of the series, and considering that they're called the Rainbow Pearls, I imagine there's probably going to be 7 of them. I mean, this is an anime, of course. 7 is always the magic number. 7 Dragon Balls, 7 Rainbow Crystals, 7 Chaos Emeralds, and now 7 Rainbow Pearls. But apparently, just like the Shikon Jewels, essentially they can power people up. And a few of the characters seem to be in possession of all of them, in particular, the 3 main leads, with Inuyasha, frickin' Moroha, actually having the red Rainbow Pearl, and then you have Setsuna, who has the gold one, and then Towa, who has the silver. And throughout this entire scene, you see this crazy centipede woman is desperately trying to gain control of all of these. Meanwhile, back in the real world, we go back to Towa, who has to deal with this rival gang yet again. Earlier in the episode, she ended up beating all of them up, and this gang takes things seriously. Like, they want to get revenge against Towa so bad, to the point where they go to her freaking family shrine, where we get to see some more classic characters, like Kagome's mom, and Kagome's grandfather, who miraculously is still alive, by the way. That's pretty freaking crazy. And they've been kidnapped by these people, and they've quite literally been bound and gagged and tied to a freaking tree. This gang don't kid around. They even end up putting a freaking knife to Mei, her brand new little half-sister, which is all sorts of messed up. But Towa decides to take it upon herself to just absolutely wreck these guys. After taking a couple of shots to the face with a freaking wooden katana, she just brings out her hidden powers, something that Sota has told her that she shouldn't use in front of people. But this is a dire situation, and she has got to save her family. So, she ends up just beating all these guys up, they hear the cops, they end up bolting, and everything seems fine, and happy, and hunky-dory, and they could have ended the episode there, and I still would have been very satisfied, but no, they give us a fantastic cliffhanger ending. We go back to the past, where they're still battling against the massive centipede woman of death, when suddenly you get to see Setsuna actually manage to fight back against her pretty competently, and acting very much like Sesshomaru. I want to say that of all the characters, she feels the most like Sesshomaru. Maybe it's the big furry thing on her shoulder, I don't know, but that's the vibe I get, and she can summon massive cyclones, which she manages to attack her with, but now that this crazy woman has absorbed all of these rainbow pearls, she's a lot more powerful, and not even frickin' Moroha can do anything. And then suddenly, yet again, out of nowhere, in front of the sacred tree, some weird, mysterious, disembodied voice starts speaking, probably connected to Roothead or Yatsume the Owl Demon. I'm not sure what's going on, but suddenly another rainbow vortex opens up, and then suddenly Moroha, Setsuna, and the giant centipede woman are sent through, and they're immediately sent into the present storyline where they are reunited with Towa, and another battle begins with Towa trying to attack with her sword, which ends up breaking. The episode ends as the reunion between the two sisters begins, and things just get crazy. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Yashahime? So many things going on in this episode, and I have to say, I'm not a big fan of when the creators of series try to dangle certain things in front of you and try to keep things really mysterious just to keep the viewer watching, but in this instance, I do think that it is rather awesome. I mean, they could have immediately just given us the full explanation of how Sesshomaru had 2 daughters. I mean, one of the biggest questions that a lot of people want to have is, who's the mother gonna be? I mean, that's still one of the biggest things that's up in the air at the moment, and watching people debate about it over the course of the last week since the first episode has been incredibly interesting. You know, some people are in the Ren camp, some people are not, some people think it's gonna be a brand new character. Could these be immaculate children? Could they simply not even be the actual blood of Sesshomaru? Could he have somehow adopted children? I don't know, but they seem to take a lot of his look and personality as well, which leads me to believe that they are related by blood. That and the fact, of course, that they are half demon, which is kind of interesting, which would mean that Sesshomaru was with a human woman. So many questions there, so many weird things. They just don't want to explain it quite yet. That and the fact that they're still messing us with the fact that we don't even see the classic characters in this episode. No Sango, no Moroku, Inuyasha, Kagome. They are completely absent and never even spoken of in this episode. And I want to know what the deal is. I want to make sure that they're okay. That's my biggest fear, is that somehow they died or they're incapacitated, they're not around, something even crazier happened to keep them out of the picture. Because I want to see these characters interacting with their children. I know that's a weird thing, but it's a dynamic that I really want to see from them, to see how far they've come in terms of their characterization, and frankly, just to see them acting like parents I think is going to be funny, especially with Kagome and Inuyasha. As for the actual characters themselves, they all got some really more solid introductions in this episode. Again, Moroha very much taking a lot of Inuyasha's overall personality of just being very loud and brash and super overconfident, but maybe even being just a little more intelligent in terms of her abilities and knowing when and how to use them. That being said, she's still incredibly unpredictable and very fun, and I have a feeling she's going to be one of the more popular characters of this entire iteration here. Setsuna, again, I think embodies everything that is Sesshomaru in terms of how he carries himself. She's very much the same way, very cool and calm and collected, and even having a lot of the same mannerisms as well. And then, of course, there's Towa, who is basically the real main character of the entire series. Again, I find her remarkably interesting, and I just love the whole, change of how, like I said, in the original series, it was someone from the future going to the past, someone from the past going to the future, but she seems to have adapted really well to this brand new world, and I still just absolutely adore her design. I don't know what it is. It's simple, but it works. The white hair, the red streak, there's just this air of coolness about Towa, which I really love about her character, and if the next episode is any indication, we might get to see her get her very special weapon, something that they managed to bring up in this episode. How every main character seems to have their very own special weapon with a really cool name attached to it. Again, I think they're hopefully going to go down as legendary as like the classics like Tenseiga, and all that other stuff. But still, I really loved all that stuff. But there was just so many other little details about this episode. Like, one, it was just really cool to see an older version of Kohaku who has taken on the legacy of his clan and brought in new people and has basically taken charge of it. Kohaku was always a really interesting character in the original series and one of my favorites, and I want to see more of his character as an adult. Seeing Hisui, the little baby we saw in the last episode, now being grown up, looking a lot more like Moroku, using the Harai Kotsu, is just awesome. I really hope he's going to be a big part of the group as well. I mean, the big three, of course, are going to be the three demon princess women, but, I really want to see more people join in the group. There's just so much more for what they could potentially do for the show, and they're still just keeping things so perfectly mysterious. On the production value side of things, there were things in this episode that looked really good, like, say, Moroha when she was attacking the centipede lady in the very first part of the episode. The character designs are still really distinctive, and some of the action moments can look okay. That being said, it's not a perfect-looking series. There are definitely some lazy moments in terms of the animation and maybe even some of the coloring and just the ways the characters move and stuff. But for the most part, it's wholly inoffensive and very watchable. If you like the classic Inuyasha stuff, you're basically going to like this stuff right here. So, yeah, I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway on that. And, of course, I'm not going to lie. I'm an Inuyasha fan. I'm a little biased. I'm just enjoying everything that this series is. I'm just grooving on it, to say the least. And I'm loving everything that I'm seeing thus far. Again, it's feeling new and nostalgic all at the same time, but I'm interested to see where this whole Rainbow Pearl thing is going to go. In some ways, it's kind of lazy because it's a really simple story that they could tell with another mystical object that they're going to have to hunt down. Depending on how many there are, since it's rainbow themed, I imagine there's only going to be 7 or 8 of these things. And it makes sense too, because apparently they gave us the episode order of how many episodes we're going to get in Yashahime. I think it's 24, which is, a pretty solid season. I don't know if Yashahime is going to have the staying power or the ability to go as long as the original Inuyasha anime series. We do have to remember, of course, that the original anime was filled with so much filler, and I'd really not like not to have any of that in this series. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be the occasional standard episode where some goofy things happen and not much is accomplished, And that can work in a series where the characters are really fun to be around, and hopefully they can pull that off in this one right here. Otherwise, I'm just pumped to see more of this adventure. I want to see what's going to be going on now that these characters are stuck in this world, how they're going to be able to travel in between. I mean, in the last episode, they made it clear that, that they brought something from the future back, so it leads me to believe that they might have found a way to actually travel in between both worlds, which I think is going to be really, really cool, and, I hope it's going to lead to some more really great story possibilities. And of course, it might even open up something a little different than the original Inuyasha series. While we spent 99% of our time in the feudal era, it would be kind of interesting to see some things brought into the modern story with all of these characters as well. It would not only make it look distinctively different, but give it its very own flavor. Basically, I'm just really enjoying this, and I loved this episode, and I cannot wait for the next one. Once those credits started to roll, I was just like, damn, I just cannot wait to see more. So, as a hardcore Inuyasha fan, as someone who's been watching the series for a very long time, I'm really enjoying this right here. I'm getting excited with every new episode, and I really hope that you guys are as well. But your thoughts may differ. For me, this was a 5 out of 5 episode, even with some of the faults in the animation and some of the artwork looking a little stilted at times. I'm still just loving this brand new world with all these cool new characters. But again, it's you guys. I want to hear from you. Tell me what you thought about the second episode of Yashahime, the half-demon princess. If you liked the episode, if you didn't like the episode, what did you think about the real formal introduction of the 3 brand new characters? What's the deal with the rainbow pearls? And what do you hope to see from this brand new Inuyasha sequel? So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like this video, use your demonic powers to hit that like button. It helps out these videos a lot, and it actually makes it so people can actually see my videos, so I'd really appreciate that. I would also like to thank all of my patrons who check out my Patreon page. Remember, guys, you guys are the best. You're amazing. You watch my videos, you share them with your friends, and you make these monthly donations, and I can't thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice. I have a couple of Patreon reviews that are coming up very soon, so please make sure to stay tuned for those. And I would love to add your name to this list of super awesome people. You're effectively the producers of this channel, and I cannot thank you enough. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay down there, baby.